Section 3.1, we're graphing linear equations, and first I want to look at slope-intercept form. So slope-intercept form is y is equal to mx plus b, and this is really the best form for a line to be in. That's for a couple of reasons. One reason is because we can really identify a lot of information if it's really in this form. So the m, the number being multiplied by the x, that is the slope. So that tells you like how steep your line is. B, this is your y-intercept. So this really tells you definitely one of the points on the line. This is where it intercepts the y-axis. So not only is there a lot of information in this form, but also if you're graphing on the graphing calculator, which we want to do, you need to have y by itself. And if it's in this form, then that's already the case. So I want to go to the y equals button on the calculator, and I'm going to type this in. So 3 divided by 4x minus 3. And I want to use the zoom standard. So if you go to zoom, that's the top middle button, and go down to 6, which is zoom standard. And that should take you to the graph. And our graph doesn't need to be perfect, but you should be able to tell from the graphing calculator which tick marks it crosses at. So this one is crossing, well, we know from looking at the graph, but also from our equation, that it's crossing here at -3. And then we can see from the graph that it's crossing here at 4. So my line would look like that. That's not quite perfect. It doesn't need to be perfect. And they also want us to identify the slope and the y-intercept. So the slope is equal to 3/4. Again, that comes from here. And the y-intercept is equal to -3. You could put -3. The most common way of expressing it is as 0, -3, because it is the point right here. So that'll be our answer to number 1. On number 2, you'll notice that it's not in slope-intercept form. So I can't identify any information. I can't just type it into the calculator. So I do need to get it into the correct form. So if I subtract 7x from both sides, then 2y is going to be equal to -7x plus 14. And then if I divide both sides by 2, then y is going to be equal to -7 over 2x plus 7. So my slope is -7 over 2 because it's just right there. And my y-intercept is 0, 7, and that comes from right there. So then if I type this in on the calculator, we have -7 over 2x plus 7, and I'm going to press the graph button that's on the top right. You could press zoom standard, but as long as you press it once, then that will be the default unless you change it. So you'll see from the graph that this is crossing at, again, we know it's crossing up here at 7, but it is crossing the x-axis down here at 2. And let's see if I can make my line any better this time. I don't think that that's better. I'll have to try to figure out how to like use a ruler or something on the touch screen. So hopefully your line looks better than that, but it doesn't need to be perfect. How about number 3? It's not in slope-intercept form, so I do need to subtract 3x from both sides, and y is equal to negative 3x. So the slope, again, your slope is whatever's next to your x, or I should say being multiplied by your x. So that would be negative 3. The y-intercept, well, you'll notice that there's no number being added or subtracted. So the y-intercept is actually 0, which means it's just the origin, or 0, 0. So if I graph this on the calculator, I should see that. Again, make sure to use the negative button, not the subtraction button. And our graph would look like that.